Yo, what's good, everybody? This is your boy, LaShawn Suga Ray Marston, host of the Suga Ray Show, here with another incredible episode, man, with a brother who has inspired me, a brother who has inspired many, man, not only here in New York, not only in America, but throughout the world, with his testimony, with his resiliency, his perseverance, man, all the work that he does for himself, for his family, for the community, and the world at large. We got dear brother Courtney Starks here this morning. I'm gonna read his bio, let you guys know who you'll be, listening to today, and we're gonna get into it. Highly motivated, resilient, and passionate, Courtney Starks is a pinnacle representation of what it means to persevere, even when things are tough. He is a leading music minister, youth minister, social media influencer, and the founder of Courtney's Corner LLC, a brand missioning to inform, inspire, and engage its audience through a variety of topics that are affecting millennials today. Courtney has been put through the ultimate test in life, starting at an extremely young age. He was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, by his loving grandmother after his mother passed away at age 30. Then in 2008, Courtney was told that the end of his life was inevitably coming due to a significant decline in his health. In 2014, just before he was about to go under for his first kidney transplant, Courtney was pulled from the donor list as his heart condition made him inoperable. When all hope seemed lost, Courtney fought and pulled through, finally receiving his life-saving kidney transplant in 2017. But don't let the challenges above fool you. Courtney still followed his dreams and made an authentic life for himself despite his underlying conditions. During his struggles, he earned a business administration degree from Nyack College and established Courtney's Corner in 2010. Though he took a break from it during the prime of his health decline, he relaunched in 2018 and has been thriving ever since. Today, Courtney runs the Courtney's Corner LLC brand, which focuses on impacting lives and sharing the stories of the voices that are unheard. He manages a YouTube talk show, owns a podcast called The Uncensored Podcast, and is currently managing his new hit show, One-on-One with Courtney Starks, shown on IG Live. Courtney faced battles that no human should have to, and has proven to be an iconic role model that instills positivity, hope, and strength in others so they can prosper through anything they face. Courtney Starks, man, from one brother to another, I love you and I appreciate you and I'm grateful for you, man. How you doing this morning?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me. Oh man, every time I hear it back, it's mind blowing to see the journey, to hear it. So, thank you.
So let's get right to it then. What about hearing your journey gives you the most goosebumps? Like what specific part, what is it about when you reflect, when you step outside of your body and listen from another's perspective? What is it that really touches you?
When you're going through the thing, many times you're not really kind of taking into account what is happening in that moment. And that's for a lot of us, right? We're going through these journeys in our lives and we don't really take the moment to sink in and let it kind of, do what it does. But to hear what you've been through, you can replay every moment back and it gives you goosebumps when you're reminded that you made it through those things, right? There were obstacles. That's all they were. They were obstacles. They were challenges. But they didn't beat us. We're right here. We're right here, right now. And now we've hurdled over into new territory. And I'm just grateful that I'm able to tell my story and no one's able to take that from me. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. And you know what's so powerful about that? One of the common themes in a lot of the interviews that I've been doing is that a lot of people are grateful that they're able to tell their story and no one's able to tell it for them. Yeah. Right? Because what happens, we all grew up playing telephone, right? You tell a person's story, and by the time it's to the third, fourth person, it's completely changed.
Yes.
So the fact that you survived, you endured, and now you're thriving, you're able to tell it from a first person perspective.
Yes.
Right. And speaking of that, you wrote a book.
Yes. Right here, guys.
The book.
My kidneys failed me, but God didn't. A journey of growth and rediscovery.
Talk about that. At what point through your journey did you know that you had to write it down, and you had to write it, and not just for yourself in a journal, but you had to write it and share it with the world?
Oh man. So during COVID, everybody kind of had to sit down with themselves, And I had just pivoted over to doing the show digitally. Like you were on my show,
yes, I was.
season 2. Yes, sir. Season 2, and we had a studio, we had production, we had a team, lights, camera, all this great stuff. And COVID shut all of that down, right? And it was a big blow for me, right? One thing for certain is I, at that journey of my life, had pretended that this kidney transplant never existed. In my mind, I just wanted to let it go and move on, right? And as men, we don't deal with our traumas, right? We don't deal with what we're going through. So I was doing that, right? Okay, let me start Courtney's Corner again. Let's do this, let's do that. I'm busy, I'm running, I'm doing all of these things. COVID happened, I had to sit down with myself. I'm literally in the middle of a show and I'm speaking to an emotional grief counselor because during that time, I just felt like somebody needed to hear that it is okay to not be okay. It is okay to talk about your feelings. It is okay to start channeling in how you feel and not let it consume you. This lady must have felt whatever I was feeling in that moment and completely flipped the switch on me during my interview, ended up turning my interview into a moment that I needed to hear. It became about me, and it was so crazy because I was looking and I'm like, God, I got two choices. I could end this live right now and pretend it never happened, or I can deal with the thing that I have been running from this entire time after my transplant. So I did it, and I'm like, cool, we're done, right? I finessed what I had to finesse. I get off of the lot, and she calls me, and she's like, we're not done here. And I'm like, damn it, like, what are you doing? And she's like, you cannot tell people to deal with their issues.
And you're not.
And you're sitting here masking your issues. As an emotional grief counselor, I can feel it. I can see it. And she made me sit down. And for the first time ever, like I had to humble myself and remind myself, like, God, Courtney, you're no better than anybody else who's been through this thing. And she made me sit down and put it in a book, on paper, right? Write down your journal. Write down how you're feeling. Write down when did you start feeling this way? And by the end of this discussion and the time, it was a book.
Powerful.
And I wasn't going to make it a book, but after I was done speaking to her, I realized that this journey wasn't just about me.
Yes, sir.
But thousands of people who need to know that it is okay. It is okay to not be okay. It is okay to go through this journey, and it is okay to receive help. Yes, and especially when it's sent from above, because that was clearly somebody else is doing outside of my own. You know what I mean? And when I was done writing this book, I felt like I could breathe. I didn't realize that I had all that weight on me. So, man, yeah.
Powerful. And so that's where the title came from. My kidneys failed me, but God didn't, because in that conversation, you realized that you had received a messenger. Messenger had come.
Yeah. And I also, in the frame of things, I realized that we are all going through something in our lives that has failed us, right? You know, our health may have failed us. Our relationships may have failed us. You know, people are on drug addiction and they think that thing is the thing that's going to get them through, and that may have failed them. That job that they got may have failed them, but God isn't going to fail you. And you're going to see the other side. You're going to be okay. You're going to make it through. And many of us now have those stories to tell. You know what I mean?
Talk about it. I'm just putting another caption, man. You on fire, brother. So talk about once. So as you write in the book, what was the biggest challenge in actually taking it from just on paper for yourself to making it a book and publishing it? What was that biggest challenge for you?
So the biggest challenge for me was reliving the moments, right? I started getting sick in high school, and we all know high school is that time and prom for us. Like, we start kind of coming into our own individualism, and I was sick throughout the entire 4 years and having to deal with that. And to go even further, a lot of it kind of felt like abandonment issues for me, right? My mom had died. when I was 5. Then my dad died when I was in my early 20s. And then I got the call of a lifetime. I'm laying at home in 2014, and they tell me, Courtney, get ready. We got a kidney for you. I get all the way to the hospital. I am, and for those of you who know, I've been on Facebook forever. I just didn't start acting crazy on Facebook. I've been this way. You know what I mean? Whoever met me before know I've always been this way. So I'm snapping, I'm posting it on Facebook and IG like, yo, God did it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm ready to go. I get on the table, and I remember the surgeon saying, just breathe. I'll see you on the other side. We can't wait. And before he can put the propofol in to put me to sleep, another doctor runs in and goes, no, you can't get this. And I remember saying to myself, what the hell is going on? Right? What do you mean I can't get this transplant? I've waited now 6 years for a transplant. And you mean to tell me I can't get it? And once again, abandonment issues, right? Kind of feeling like I was rejected. Like no one wanted me to be successful. No one wanted me to live, you know what I mean? And having to go through that, but also in that moment, rediscovering who I am and who I wasn't being during that time, right? That was self-reflection of me. Like I wasn't living the life of a person who truly deserved to get a transplant. And if I wasn't sat down in that moment, I could have died. And somebody's life would have been in vain because somebody had to die for me to receive that transplant. So how dare I take it for granted? And for 3 years, I had to sit down with myself and remind myself of who I was, whose I was, and the things that I needed to do to prepare myself for this transplant. That it wasn't going to be easy, that I wasn't just going to get it. And that's been my life's calling, right? Nothing in my life has been easy. I've had to work for everything that I've gotten, and that wasn't going to be any different. So once I realized all of that and I changed my life around, God blessed me with this transplant again. And by that time, I realized that I need to hoop, holler, shoot, shout, whatever. No one needs to know that but me and God and my family. And when I got it and I woke up, I was thankful. And asked my grandma, I was in full blown Viola Davis snot booger tears. Like I could not control myself because I was so blessed that somebody allowed me to live again, you know?
Give thanks. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. So powerful. And you know, as I listen to you share this testimony, I'm just really grateful that in those moments you were able to be still self-aware.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of times, you know, when we go through the challenges, we blame, you know, when it doesn't work our way, we say, oh, God don't want this. Oh, you know, these people, two things you said that's very important. You said, as I'm going through this, it seems like someone doesn't want me to live, right? People don't want me to be. But also you were also self-aware saying, whoa, am I living a life that is deserving of another chance? Am I being authentic? Am I being myself? Right? And so that's very powerful. Thank you for that. So now let's flip on the other side. Now you got the transplant, you know, you now have a second chance at life, right? You realize that someone else sacrificed for you to be. What was that initial feeling for you? Like outside of the emotion, like if you can, I'm not outside of the emotion, but if you can go deeper within the emotion, what was the feeling and what was the thought process? Well, like what was the deep thought process? Was it in those moments or in that moment when you realize, okay, I'm up, I'm awake, I'm still here, I got my body, I got my limbs, I can talk, I'm here now. Is that when you really like set the plan? Like what happened immediately after that?
So for me, I'm one of those people who overthinks, right? And when I got the transplant, as happy as I wanted to be, in my heart, I'm like, somebody had to die for me to live. And it hurt because all life is precious, right? No matter whose it is, all life is precious. And I realized, like, you can't take this for granted, right? You cannot live a life that is unworthy of people right now who are depending on you, right? You now have a testimony to tell. You now have a story to share that can save somebody's life. Somebody had lit the light and then handed it over to me, right? And now it's my time and my duty to make sure that the life I live, I can now pass that on to somebody else because they need to be able to begin their story. You know what I mean? So for the first year, I had to just kind of sit in reflection and remind myself, like, yes, this is great, right? You get a chance to live on this earth and breathe and walk and talk and laugh and joke, but somebody had to say goodbye to a loved one. Somebody had to lay that person to rest and pray that they did a thing when they donated their organ to somebody else. They've never met me. I haven't spoken to any of the family members. They don't know who I am, but I'm hoping I'm now living a life worthy of what I received. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Fellow minister, just observing you, knowing you, online, meeting you in person, and then through the mutual friends who testify to your greatness, to your, authenticity. I would say that you are definitely living a life. I think if it was my family, if I could see you, I'd be like, okay, he's doing it. Because when I think about these things, right, I think about myself. I think about, how do I honor our loved ones? How do we honor the people who we lost, right? I've lost my 3 siblings, my dad, grandfather, uncle, and hundreds, if not thousands of friends, right? And I'm like, as long as we are staying positive, as long as we are loving people, as long as we are continuing to serve people in our own unique way, I think that in itself makes us worthy of whatever sacrifice those who made, because that's all people want is like, if I make this sacrifice in whatever capacity, please do something positive, pay it forward your own way. Maybe you can't give an organ, but can you give time? Can you give food? Can you help people with clothes? Can you give advice? Can you give mentorship? Freely ye receive, freely ye give.
That's right.
You do it without attachment, without a financial gain to it. Can you just do it because it's the right thing to do? And again, I've seen you, brother. I would say that you are doing it out of the kindness of your heart. So keep going.
Thank you.
So now let's go back to the book real quick before we move forward to the speaking, to the ministry, and all of that. The book is complete. It's published. You went through the journey. You reflected on all of the tough moments. You wrote it down. You published it. You held your book now. What was that feeling to see that finished product in your hand, knowing that you already had people who wanted to buy the book, knowing that you already had a fan base, a support system, wanted to learn more about you, those who already knew the story, wanted to read your in-depth thoughts? What was that feeling like for you?
Man, I cried like a baby. Man, I remember I was waiting for the box to come in because we were literally had set up the book release, the book signing, and that process is crazy. For those of you who've written a book, like just kind of waiting to receive it, going through the publishing and the editor and the design and all this crazy stuff. It's a headache.
Nerve-wracking.
But I don't remember what I was doing in that moment, but I remember opening my door and the box was sitting in front of my door. Nice. And before I could open it, I just started crying because I knew what it was. And I knew the work that had to be done in order for that to get in front of my door. Right. And I knew that there were so many people who wanted to read it. And as soon as I opened the book, it was like I could hear music in the background. Like, it was such a great day because it came the same day as my book release. And I'm like, okay.
Wow.
How when you think about time and things happening in its time, I was so grateful to be able to just send it out and get it out and bring it to the space and kind of just looking at it, because it was a wow moment for me. Like, you wrote a book. Who thought me could write a book? You know what I mean? I don't, till now, I'm like, how did I get put pen to paper? That was because it was authentic. It came from within. I probably won't ever do another book again. But I knew this book needed to come out. It needed to be shared. And people needed to be able to attach it to their lives and hopefulness and gratefulness. I hope that people can now live through their story and remind themselves that God doesn't fail. Period.
Powerful. So you mentioned, you get the books, you open it, the box, you hear music. So let's talk about music. So you are a music minister, right? Yes. How did you get into music? At what point did music come into your life? And how did you get connected to the church and ministry and things like that?
So I have, before the show, before Courtney's Corner and all this great stuff, I was doing music. From a little kid, I remember being at PAL. They had me in talent shows singing Mariah Carey songs. I'm like, yo, I'm a dude. But falling in love with what I was doing. And I remember this, that feeling in your gut when you know that this is love. Like, I feel this. There is something that it takes place in your body when you're doing what you love. and music has always been my first love. And I remember saying, you know what? All right, I'll give it a shot. And even before my kidney transplant, I was in high school, all the talent shows, all of the choirs. I was in there just blowing down because that was what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
One day I go to church. Now I was always active. I wasn't singing, but I was active, and I was, helping out, doing ministry with the other youth, kind of being involved. And I remember going to church one day, and this young girl was singing at church, and I was like, "Hold up, we could do this? We could sing inside church? No way!" Because I'm always seeing older adults. I'm like, "All right, whatever, have it. Y'all got the little old people thing." You know what I mean? And then I was like, "Wait, if young people can minister, why can't I?"
Yes,
and
sir.
all I did was ask, right? Because sometimes we don't get what we want because we are afraid to ask. And I asked, I joined in, and I never stopped. I never stopped. And then you get older, and you kind of like find your own creative flow of how you want to do things or where you see your vision of music going. And we formed a band. We were called Kingdom Builders. And we would do ministry nights and different places of different churches or whatever. And then my team moved and I had to pivot, right? Like that's been my life. I got to pivot. And I pivoted. And then, people were allowing me the opportunity to minister in different places. And it's just something about music that it's my peace, right? Like everybody has their own thing that brings them peace and serenity. And that's it. Like I can play and I can play a song right now, and my life just pauses for a minute, and I can reflect, and I can see myself in situations just based off the song, and it takes me there. You know what I mean? I had a moment where I got scared. A doctor had told me that I had nodules on my vocal cords, and I'm like, all right, God, so this is it. Like, okay. I have lived the life that I wanted to live as a music artist. So what's next? And then this baby dropped in my spirit. Courtney's Corner dropped in my spirit. But the love for music has never stopped. And I'll sing anywhere I'm asked to sing and minister where I'm asked to minister, because when you raise your voice in that capacity, it's angels who are, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about angels, cherubim. We're talking about angels. So it's a blessing, you know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Music. I think this guy years ago, rapper, I think Mims, music is my savior, right? And I think we all have that, and I'll relate that to just years ago studying the body, human anatomy, and realizing that we are instruments, right? We have vocal cords, eardrums, heartbeats, vital organs, right? These are instruments, and so it would make sense then that music has the ability, like you said, when you do something you love, something happens inside your body.
Yeah.
Right? You feel it tingling. The song will come on, a beat will come on, and you'll tingle, and it'll take your mind to your peaceful place. And it's crazy. Just on the flip side, that's what they've been using to condition us to hate ourselves, not love ourselves, hate each other. They've been using music. So we gotta take your advice and remember that, yes, that's possible. Right. And I think 1944, when they changed the national standard of the music note, right? And to make it more low vibrational, right? So we gotta just a brother told me years ago, we got to use the same tools they use to enslave us to liberate us.
To liberate us. Yeah.
So it's the same thing on the flip side, right? So let's talk about that. Let's talk about number one, I want to ask you, who are some of your musical inspirations?
Everybody knows I'm a gospel beast. Yeah. So I take it back to Smokey Norfolk. You know what I mean? I love a Smokey Norfolk. I love a Tamala Man. I love a Todd Delaney. I love all the Fred Hammond. You know what I mean? I love soul, right? When I think about gospel music, I love to be able to be truly connected, right? And I don't care what no one says, our people does it the best.
Yeah, of course.
It is what it is.
A question.
It's right. It's just it's from us. Now people may try to copycat what we do, but it's connected to us. So for me, anything that we put out that speaks to the power of our Lord and Savior, I am in. I am totally in. And those are my favorites. Like Tamala Mann, she can sing the alphabet backwards, and I'm in tears. And it's not nothing. She's not even singing nothing. And it just, her soul is so anointed that I will just, yeah.
Great.
So
She's great. So let me ask you this, right? You've been in different spaces, you met different people. When it comes to music, what are you excited about right now in society, right? I think we kind of know what we're all frustrated about with music, but what excites you about music and maybe the direction it's going, or talk about that for a minute.
It's hard, right? It's really, really hard, but locally, not so much across the board. I see people kind of tapping into their high vibrational level of creativity when it comes to music, right? And it's not just what they've seen on TV. There are some people who truly, truly believe in their gift and how it affects the world. And for me, it reminds me that hope is never lost, right? We may be in a space right now where it's like, what the hell are y'all talking about? Y'all pop out a beat and think y'all can make a song and it has no weight, no bearing. And if anything, all it's doing is destroying the art of what this is supposed to be. But then you see young kids out here, this Gen Z, some of these Gen Zers, and they're just like, no, no, I don't want this. Yep. My grandmother may have wanted that. My mother may have enjoyed that, but I need some weight. I want to know what I'm talking about before I sing it. And for me, what I love is before they hear the beat, they got some word, they got words. Yes, it's not just hearing a beat and putting it to paper. It's words, it's meaning, it's powerful. And then the beat comes through. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what separates us now. Because now people are just rapping over a dumb beat that makes no sense. And we out here like, oh, because the beat is good. And if you ask us what the words are, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. So yeah.
And that's for real, and same. I think, right, obviously we know that, music has been hijacked on all levels, right? To manipulate, control, condition people. But I'm very excited to see, like you said, a lot of the younger people that actually starting to think more, and they're realizing that, whoa, this music, it doesn't make sense, right? Obviously, there's still some who are trapped in that, but a lot are rising up and saying, whoa, let's get back. And, I really hang with, I often rather hang with a group of, like, I think the youngest musician is like 21, between 21 and like 30 musicians. They play the saxophone and the drum, and keys, and, when they do events, they have warehouse, they sell out warehouses, 150, 200 people in the warehouse, and it's all high vibrational music. It's all about love and peace and forgiveness and striving and unity. You know what I mean? And just being better people, being better humans. And it's a mixed group of people, Black, white, Latin, different people with different, identifying as different genders and sexualities. And it's beautiful to bear witness and be in that space. And every time I'm there, I get so emotional because, number one, a lot of times I'll be the oldest in the room, right? Almost 40, 39. But to be embraced by those younger people, and to just see their trajectory, to see that they are rejecting everything that mainstream is putting out, and they're like, nah, we got to use music for what it was intended for, which is to touch the hearts and the souls of people, to inspire people, and to reconnect people to source energy, to themselves, to God, and to remember that you too have a purpose no matter what you've been through. Because your divorce may have failed you, your job may have failed you, but God ain't failed you yet. Talk about it.
Let's go.
So, man, let's go back to, present day, right? You got the book, you overcame the transplant, you got the transplant, overcame the health challenges, but then you get the call that you got some stuff on your throat, right? You realize that, okay, maybe I can't do the music like I used to, right? How have you been able to, like, where do you get the mentality to pivot like that? Because a lot of people can't pivot like that. A lot of people tunnel vision, which is good in a way, obviously, but then they get stuck on, no, I got to do it this way, and this not working, they give up. But every time you've accomplished or you've encountered a challenge, as you said, you've pivoted and said, okay, let me do it this way. Where did that instinct or that wisdom or understanding come from?
I made this slogan, and I have it on my shirts and certain different things. And for me is you don't get the right to give up, right? You don't get the right to. Our journeys are not for ourselves and not our own. And I always say that we're not living for us. We're living so that the person after us can utilize what we've been through, what we had to overcome, take that mantle and go forward, right? So with the kidney transplant, with the pivoting of my show, with having to now kind of pivot with how I sing and what I do, I realized that if I give up, then somebody else's journey now is skewered because I didn't do my part, right? So if their failure is now attached to my failure, and we don't get the right to. So I truly believe, and I always share this message with everybody. No matter what you go through, bad, good, and different, try again. Try again. You know, God is calling us to try again. We don't fail until we truly give up, right? There is no such thing as failure until then. And society may look at it and tell you that you failed. You didn't fail. You had to go through and grow through those things.
Talk about it.
That way, when you do it again, not only are you going to succeed, but now you have life lessons to pass on to the person that's going to hold your mantle and run. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just not in my spirit. And I've known this now from a young age. Like, I'm different. I'm not like everybody else. I've never been in the street. You know what I mean? I wasn't raised that way. And God has allowed me to go through these challenges that I had to face because my story was different than your story. And your story different than the person who's holding your mantle later on in life, whether it be your kids or somebody that's just, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? And I think about that at all times. Somebody that I do not know is looking at my life right now and saying, I want to do this, or I can do that, or I can breathe and live again because he breathed and he lived again. So how can I stop, right? How can I fold when, number one, God has blessed me abundantly. And I didn't even know what that word was until later on in life. Abundantly. You know what I mean? With grace and mercy, even when I didn't deserve it.
Yes,
you know what I mean? So,
think about it. No, that's so powerful, man. You know, and it makes me think of, there's an African proverb that says something like, a wise man plants a tree knowing that he'll never enjoy the shade. Right? And so we're planting these seeds, we're doing this work knowing that, yeah, we're living this life. And obviously, you know, one of the beauties is that if we do it right, we can in our life enjoy some of the fruits, but we know that it ain't for us.
Yes.
It's those who come behind us, and that's true awareness, self-awareness, and being connected to your legacy, knowing that there were those who were before me who literally, people prayed for us. Yes. People prayed for us to be here. 200, 300, 400, 1,000 years ago, they prayed that they would have a descendant, someone in their bloodline who would come, right? They had no idea like where it would be, with who would come, whatever it is, to the next level and just keep growing, keep passing the baton, because although we are individuals having our own human experiences, we are links in the chain, connected to each other for all time, from the beginning to the end. Right? So we have like the word you used earlier, we have a duty. We have a duty to not give up. We have a duty to persevere. We have a duty to share the testimony, because without going through the test, there's no testimony. And who wants a bland life? I don't think no one wants a bland life, a boring life where it's like, I live, you know, I went to work, I went to school, I had some kids, and I died. It's like, where's the fun in that?
Yeah. Right? I always tell people, and I live by this. It's not the year you were born or the year you died. It's the in between. It's that dash, right? Yes, what does your dash look like? When people read your obituary, when people share your life to other people, what are they going to say about you? Because if it's bland, it's just the beginning and the end. Yep. And no one wants to live that way. No matter how you were raised or conditioned, no one truly wants to just exist. I am so sorry. We all have a reason for being here, even if it's cut short. Yes, sir. We are blessed in that dash. So use it wisely. You know what I mean? And it's a short time. You know what I'm saying? So
like that. Now you're here and you're gone.
That's right. So use it wisely.
No, and you know what's so powerful about that, you know, is you said cut short, right? I used to struggle with that term, right? You know, die too soon. And it's like, if God is always in control, right? And if every moment is divine, right? Then how can, and I understand the concept what people mean. I understand it.
Yeah.
But I know children who have lived 5 years in transition that have made more impact than adults who live to be 90.
That's right.
I know really in my own personal life, friends who have had children who have died at a couple of months old, right? But the impact that child made, the light that child brought to their family, to whoever met them and who met their parents and was able to see the light through their parents from that child, the impact radiated more than some adults who live to be 70, 80. I remember being at an event with Al Sharpton years ago, and he said something very important, and I know, Al Sharpton's a funny guy, but he said something very powerful. He said, one of the reasons he stopped speaking at a lot of funerals, he said, because I got tired of lying for insignificant Negroes. He said, I got tired of speaking, and trying to eulogize people who didn't really do nothing with their life. Right, but went to school, went to work, went home, had some kids, maybe got married, whatever, lived seemingly good life. But what impact did you make? Right? What impact did you make? What lessons did you teach your children? What lessons did you teach the people in your community? Where did you give time to? Right? And that's why, brothers like yourself are important, because through all your challenges, you continue to serve. You continue to keep your head high, as tough as it was, and remember that if I could wake up another day, I still got purpose. Right,
I love that you said that, because I also just to kind of add to that, I think that a lot of times we think that legacy comes with age or comes with time, and it's like, no, a 5-year-old can leave a legacy just like an 80-year-old can leave a legacy. We just have to know how to tap into that. And when you think about funerals, something that popped in my head, this is why it is important to give people their flowers now, right? Because just because you saw a person from an outer exterior just get up, go to work, take care of kids, take care of his wife, or vice versa, that doesn't mean that impact was lost. Because it all goes into how those kids are raised, right? What did they learn? What was their impact? And I think when we think about impact, it has to be big, brand, bold. No, just showing up for your kids. Just a little effort that you put in could be a huge impact on somebody's life. I love when I hear people go, I want to be like my mother. I want to be like my dad. And it's like, that's an impact. No, it wasn't broadcasted on BET, but I bet your bloodline, when we talk about that chain link, somebody's going to look back and go, my ancestors did this, so I can do that. So that impact never dies. You know what I mean? It's up to you to want to leave it. You know what I'm saying?
And that's and I love that you said that, because even when I say that in hopes that someone grasps it and we could build on it, because impact is consistency. Impact is, taking the children to school. Impact is being there when your partner is sad or depressed or going through something, right? That's all impact. That's all impact. It doesn't have to be, because most of us do think impact meaning this big thing. And it's like, okay, that's an impact too. But we know that sometimes the bigger it is, the more it's lost.
That's right.
So, significant, intentional, right? Are you intentional with your time? Are you intentional with your words, right? Because the impact could also be negative. Because how many times you say, I don't want to be nothing like my parent. I don't want to be like this person, right? And so that's why the intention is important. And I think that comes from being self-aware and just having a deeper connection with source, right? With God, right? And so let me ask you about that, in all of your interviews and all of your, communications with various folks, what would you say has been, outside of your own experience, what has been some of the top things you've learned from people, from their experiences and their lives and their stories?
For most of us, our topics kind of intertwine, right? Our themes are all of the same, right? And what I realize in some cases is you think you're going through a thing, and then you speak to somebody who has been through something 10 times worse than you, and now you sit with yourself like, damn, and I complained all through this, and this person had a smile the entire time, or this person was able to now build upon that and impact millions of people, and I complained through all of that, and sometimes because I was disobedient, missed the blessing. I missed the blessing. And when I interview people, it's first of all, I'm really intentional, right? I never just want anybody on my show. And And I I stand by that, right? There was a time where all my friends was like, "Oh, Court, put me on." You have nothing to talk about. I'm so sorry, but you have nothing to talk about. And I'm really intentional that people who come on my show are going to now raise up other people to want to be this way or want to follow in those footsteps. And it's heartwarming, and that's why I do what I do. You know what I'm saying? Wherever it has taken me has been all God, right? But I stand firm on everybody who touches the Courtney's Corner platform is somebody worth diving into, impacting, engaging, and making sure that they are leaving a footprint. So when somebody ready to tap in and watch an old episode, they're changed. You know what I'm saying? Forever.
Yes, sir. So let's talk about young people, right? How important is it for you personally, and how important is it just in society that adults, grown men, grown women, particularly with me and you brothers, how important is it for us to pour into our community, our youth, not just our young men, but also our young girls? How important is that?
It is everything, right? Without, people keep saying, oh, the millennials are a lost generation. But we're lost because you guys were lost, right? It's called like when we talk about breaking generations, the curses, that's what that is, right? But where does it stop? I feel like as millennials, we have opened a lot of doors. We have allowed a lot of things to come to life because of what we said in our mouths, whether good or bad. But now you have young people looking up to us. There was a point where we were looking up to these people. And I feel like at some point in time, and I say this, and I know I get a lot of flack for it, we are not young adults anymore. We are not kids anymore. We are the aunties and uncles of our generation.
Yes, sir.
We have to be the ones to shine the light so that way these young people are not affected and happen to go through the same chains we said we were trying to break. Now, will we get it right all of the time? No. But we need to make an impact somewhere because those babies, their lives depend on it, right? Every day I look up and I see that a 21-year-old committed murder, an 18-year-old committed murder. Who left that impact? They didn't wake up and say they wanted to kill, steal, rob, destroy. Who was impacting them? And if it's not positively, then we need to get them out of there. We need to be the ones to jump in. We have people doing that for us our entire lives. How dare we sit back and say that's somebody else's job? It's the village. It's a village, and it's a village of us.
Powerful. You know how powerful that is, bro? Like, you get me emotional because number one, I was that kid, right? At 7 years old, I knew I wanted to heal the world. I saw Michael Jackson heal the world in '91, and I said that's what I want to do. At about 8, 9, I realized I couldn't sing or dance. So it wasn't the singing and dancing, but it was the impact, right?
Yes.
I think my mom said I wrote my first poem at like 4 years old. So I've always had a love of words, right? Even getting in trouble, fighting in school. I loved words, language arts, science, math, history. I've always loved these things. And I had a plan. I had a plan to, either go play football or go be a psychologist, right? And my dad passed at age 11, right? And my dad was my best friend. Like, we traveled a lot, skiing. My dad was a dad who, he had his own cleaning company. He would take me with him, after school, pick me up from home, make sure I did my homework, and take me with him to make sure that different jobs are done, and drop me off. And sometimes he'll drop me off, and then he'll go back to work, and I'll call him, right? Literally, sometimes I'll call him at 11 at night. I'm supposed to be asleep. Mom, can I call Daddy real quick? Yeah, but Daddy, can I have a piece of cheesecake? And I will get woken up at like 1, 2 in the morning sometime with a piece of cheesecake. When he passed at 11, like, it shattered I didn't even know he was sick. Yeah. Shattered my whole world. And so now my teenage years, and I did therapy. We did the whole therapy thing, and it didn't work because I was highly intelligent as a youth, and I realized that as good as the intentions were of this therapist, this white female therapist, I knew that she never lost a parent. I knew that she never lost anybody significantly closer, so she did not understand. Yeah, right. So she's attributing, do all this and all this and maybe this, and I'm like, yo, I'm just angry that my dad is gone, right? Like, and all of those other things is not taking his anger away, right? And I think they didn't talk about meditation and all of these things that helped me later on, but I ended up. Then my sister passed at 14, so I ended up not caring. I ended up. I remember nights, brother, where I would cry in bed, praying for the strength to jump off the roof because I wanted to be wherever my dad was at.
Wow.
honestly, wherever my dad was at and my favorite sister, wherever they at, that's where I want to be. So if I gotta die to get there, that's what I want to do. And it took a long time for me to get out of those suicidal ideations, right? Even at 19 years old, I sat with a gun to my head. And I got drunk, I got high, and I prayed for the strength to pull the trigger. I didn't. Thankfully, I didn't. I'm still here, and I've been able to transform my life, transform my mind, and live a life of intention and purpose ever since. Right? How I interviewed a school teacher about a decade ago, a friend of mine, and she said something so powerful on the lines of what we're talking about. She said, each generation reaps what the former generation has sown, right? So now, how do we, as grown men who have friends or children of our own, who are at this age, 15, 16, 17, 18, in their early 20s, how do we talk to our peers to get them to understand maybe the negative impact that they're leaving? Because sometimes a negative impact is not just what you do, it's also what you don't do.
Yeah.
So what are some ways you think that we can speak to our peers, our fellow adults and parents, uncles and aunts, to get them more aware of their responsibility to their own children and then children in the village?
I think we need to start being okay with being uncomfortable. A lot of times we step back because I don't want to overplay my role, right? I don't want to step on nobody's toes. Some people need that. They didn't have that, right? Like you were saying, you didn't have your dad, you lost your sister. This therapist didn't know what you were going through. But a lot of us have gone through these things in different variations. But when we talk about community, we're living in a community where a lot of us have had to endure a lot of the same things and situations. So we're some of us are speaking from a place of being aware, maybe not in directly with that situation, but we know what's going on. We can tap into the conversation, but sometimes you gotta smack them upside the head. Like, listen, bro, this is not okay. That is not okay. And we gotta show tough love with one another, because right now we're living in this dumb era where everybody's oversensitive about what comes out of your mouth. And that's not community. Stepping back because we don't want to offend nobody is not community. We had Martin and Malcolm and Rosa and the plethora of people out here who were like, okay, those feelings are valid, but this is the goal. This is the goal. Our babies are going to reap what we sow. So at some point in time, brothers and sisters, we gotta tap in to that level of uncomfortability and let our peers know this is not okay. When you think about living impact, this is not the impact we are trying to leave, right? Like, somebody has to say it. Now, once you sow the seed, right? Whether they take it and run with it is not your issue, right? You sown what you had to sow. You left what you needed to left. You tried to help as much as you can. Your part is just in knowing that somebody, 1 out of the 10, have listened and has taken what you have said and have amplified it to their life. Unfortunately, we are living in a world where not everybody's gonna get it. Like you said, that tunnel vision. So all they see is what they see right here. They can't think of anything else. Our job is to try. Our job is not to do. That is God's job, right? We're only here to build it, to plant the seed, to water it, and hopefully it grows. And if it doesn't, we did our part.
Powerful. No, so powerful about that, and I want to share this with you because this is something that I came into, a wisdom and understanding that I came into years ago that helped me tremendously release the attachment, right? 2 things when I was studying agriculture in 2013, right? Farm school, New York City agriculture, all of the things with soil and planting and growing. I realized 2 things. I realized that 1, some seeds are going to fall by the wayside. It's not a bad thing. Also, every plant that grows in nature is not meant for human consumption. Some plants are poison. Therefore, for me, my understanding now, it's not even unfortunate when it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
When it doesn't go the way I think it should go, that's an attachment. We think that everybody should be good. However, how do we know good if there's not bad?
Yeah.
How do we know righteousness if there's no evil? And so there's always going to be a percentage of people who just are naturally inclined to hurt people, right? And this is what I'm trying to figure out more and conceptualize is like, how do we find space for it? Because they're still humans, right? And maybe just like the poisonous plants that's in the garden that's growing naturally, right? Find a space for them to grow by themselves.
Yeah. And that's why it's really big to replace that emotion, right? Like you were saying, like that attachment will have you stuck.
Yeah.
Right. Because you want it to go the way you have it in your mind and in your heart. But that's just not reality. You know what I mean? Like you were saying, you can love people in spite of. We serve a God who loves in spite of our wrongdoings and gives us grace to come back. But like you were saying, some people rather be in that garden where it's toxic and poisonous. Let them live there by themselves. That whole one apple spoils a bunch needs to stop. We need to redirect that phrase because it's not fair for those in that bunch to have to suffer because of one apple. Let them go on their own, and let's allow us the opportunity to continue growing other apples elsewhere that are going to prosper and be great. You know?
No, powerful, man. So we'll be wrapping up shortly. Courtney, talk to me, man. What do you have coming up? What do you have going on that you're excited about?
Man, so
the next 2 weeks and months.
I always think about where God allows me to go and be in my life. And as I'm doing the show, we've launched our nonprofit, the Courtney's Corner Community Give Back Foundation.
Yes,
we started that during COVID, and that has blown up and become amazing to do. But he also has allowed me now an opportunity to do speaking gigs and hosting events. I recently received an award for the work that I have been doing. And that was more like a flower moment for me. You know what I mean? A lot of times we are in places where we feel like no one is seeing me, right? I'm doing all of this work and no one is really seeing me. And even though I know people are seeing me, to be able to receive an accolade for it was like, okay, guys, so you had to remind me that even when I feel this way, they are seeing what I'm doing. You know what I mean? And it's been amazing. I've recently been signed to a company, which I'll be sharing with you guys later down the line. I can't share it now, but that's also, it's a flower thing for me. Like, okay, you're showing me that I'm in the right direction. I'm moving in the right direction, and I love it. I love it. You know what I mean? It brings me so much joy to know that the impact that I'm leaving is going to last a lifetime. You know what I mean? If no one ever sees the show, I'll put it in a book.
Yes,
you know what I mean? That's a lifetime guarantee. It doesn't go anywhere. It's still on shelves. You can easily access it. And isn't that the goal? You know what I mean?
So powerful. You said something so profound. Accolades, right? There are a lot of people, I myself, when I first came out of prison, I first changed my life in 2008, I committed to, just building myself up and, making my community better. I remember the first city proclamation I got from the city council in my neighborhood. And I was grateful, but I was like, my friends are still dying, right? My friends are still killing each other. My friends are still going to prison. And the older brother reminded me, he said, how many people you know with proclamations?
Come on.
Okay, nobody, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody like me. I know people who are government officials who have them. I know people who are big name activists who had them. But me, just a 24-year-old, I was 2012, 20, I don't even remember how old I was, 2012, 20 something. When I got that. But then it was in my neighborhood, right? And so what I realized from that experience is that all the times, the accolade is not just for you, it's for those who look at you and say, okay, if these people who are esteemed see him, see her, and are honoring them, maybe they do have something I can listen to. Maybe they do have something I can gain from, right? So, Courtney, man, this is great, brother. If you can leave us, right, all our viewers with some last words, man, some words of encouragement, some words of empowerment, inspiration, man, please do leave us with a few words.
I'm just going to say the things that I said earlier because I feel like sometimes people just need to be reminded of this. We are all in this situation right now where we are fighting for something, whether it be trying to just keep our lights on or find a great job or tap into entrepreneurship, whatever that is, try again, right? That's the message. Try again. Failure is only failure if you give up. And we are built too strong for that. Our ancestors have shown us that. And all we are links on the chain of great people who came before us, which makes us great. And our turn right now is to be greater than them.
Yes, sir.
So that way the people coming after us are greater than us.
Talk about it.
So what is your impact going to look like? What will your dash represent? And remind yourself, even in the thickest of things, that you don't get the right to give up. God bless.
Yo, powerful, my brother, man. Thank you so much for your time, for your wisdom. Thank you for enduring. Thank you for persevering. Thank you for your sustained resilience, my brother. I got a shirt for you. I got to meet up with you, give you one of my shirts, man. Sustained resilience shirt. You know, because it's about us. It's about, you know, when I created that brand, that lifestyle brand, it's like we're born resilient, right? To get here, we had to overcome so much just to get in this physical realm. How many sperms did not make it? How many times, you know, your parents could have lost their lives? How many times their parents could have not made it? So the fact that we are here is a testament that we belong here, to our own resilience, driven by the divine spirit, driven by God, right? So it's like, all we got to do is sustain that. Just sustain that. You don't got the right to give up, man. Just keep persisting. Yo, brother, I thank you. I love you. Yo, everybody, this is your boy, LaShawn Suga Ray Marston, host of the Suga Ray Show, wrapping up another phenomenal episode, man, with my dear brother, our dear brother, some of our uncles. You know what I mean? This is a big leader in the community, man, on so many levels. Courtney Starks, founder of Courtney's Corner LLC, podcast, talk show, interviews, non-profit, man, to give back, man. Everything he's been given, he's giving back in some way, shape, form, or fashion. He's enrolling all of us to join him in those efforts to give back, to support him. If you can't support him, give back in your own way, man. And that's what it's about. You know, we're here to serve, we're here to build, man. We're here to share in the glory of the divine and the glory of this life, and remind everyone, things may have failed you. People may have, situations may have failed you, but God ain't failed you yet. As always, be kind to each other, be kind to yourself. We all we got, but we all we need. Peace.
Peace.